All right.
I say one more time to everyone,
Oh shoot, Candy,
for
come
those
get a
who are
breakfast.
connected or
You're
just
welcome.
Cat,
connected,
come get a breakfast.
I say good
Tell
afternoon.
her breakfast.
And I would like to ask you if you can just mute the microphone from your side so that I can share with you the message and you could hear, and those who are present, and that we don't have no interruption. Good afternoon to everyone. Let me just go straight to the point in this afternoon. And for those who are listening to YouTube and also to Facebook, to social media, God bless you and welcome. And what I want to share is something to empower you. What I want to share is not, it's not words so that you could follow me, but to empower you, so you being empowered, you can empower others around you. And I want to begin by saying that in this life, we or you could lose many things in this life. We see people that they, they, they lost an eye, a limb, they lost part of their body. Some others have lost their job, their homes. As we go through this life, we're exposed to going through certain situation and even losing things. But there's something that we cannot afford. Or there's something that if you have lost, as might as well you throw the tower. There's something that we cannot lose. And this something is the will to fight. I have met, I have worked, I have lived, I have counseled people who have lose parts in their body, but they never lost the will to fight because their identity was not in what they lost, but their identity was in one that was greater, higher, and deeper than what they lost. You could lose, as one more time I'm gonna say, you could lose a finger, you could lose an eye, a limb, but if you lose the will to fight, you lose everything. You could even lose your life. And these have nothing to do with age. Because I know people very, very young who don't have a will to fight. And I know people advanced in years have the will to fight. I was talking with my wife sometime yesterday, the day before yesterday, that I worked with this man that was very advanced in year, and one of the things that I admire about him, that every day you have the will to fight. Every day he will have the will to press forward. Every day will have the will to take the bull by the horn. And that's what kept and is keeping this person alive. Because when anybody loses the will, anybody can get sick. Anybody can go to a terrible and harsh situation. But if you lose the will to fight, you will lose everything. And the thing is, where does the will to fight is coming from? Is it coming from the physical, or is it coming from the spiritual? Because maybe some people find the will to fight on a person, on an object, on a circumstance, or on a situation. But when the will to fight comes from the Creator, it goes beyond what you feel, what you see, and what you hear. So if you lose the will to fight, you lose everything. If you lose the will, the fire, that when you woke up every morning, say, here am I'm going to fight. If you lose this, you lose everything. And if you have lost the will to fight, you can find it. You can find the will to fight in the communion with the Creator. When you see around and there's nothing to motivate you to press yourself forward, you could find a will to fight each and every day when we have a communion with the Creator. When we purpose in our heart to seek Him, to draw closer to Him, He will energize our life, our mind, our spirit, our soul. If you have not found until now the strength and the will to fight, it's not too late. It's not too late for you to find the will to fight by connecting. I'm not talking about making a prayer, going into a building and talking with a group of people, having a social club that you can distract your mind, that you can laugh. All those things are good, but it have to be more deeper than that. If your motivation, if your will to fight comes from what is visible, the will to fight is not sustainable. It will soon or later fade away. But if you and anyone find the will to fight in the presence or drawing or seeking, for lack of a better word, or having a communion with the Creator, your will to fight will go beyond yourself, your weakness, your challenges. Will go beyond the things that you see and hear. You know, the words that comes from the Creator of their life. And if we can find the will to fight in Him, There's nothing that's going to stop you. There's nothing that is going to hold you back. You could lose an arm. You could lose an eye. You could be advanced in years. But if you have the will to fight because it's found in him, there's nothing that is going to stop you. So, Pastor, what I need to do so I can wake up every day with this fire, spite of how I'm feeling, of what I'm hearing, is to strengthen yourself in the Lord. If the will that you have is coming with what you possess in the bank, the things that you see, the things that you hear, or even how you feel physically, the will is a short-lived will. As I said before, it's not sustainable. It's an illusion. And one more time, I'm going to repeat what I need to do. What you need to do is to strengthen yourself in his presence. Is stop living for yourself and begin to live to help people. Because when we live just for ourselves, the self-sustained will fade away. You know, sometimes people say, okay, I'm waiting to raise my children. When they finish raising their children, oh, I'm waiting to retire. And when they retire, what else? This is it. But when we find a purpose in helping others, we go beyond the physical. We go into the spiritual. That's why many people, they lose the will to fight. They don't have this friend anymore. They don't have this friend anymore. They don't have this, they don't have that. And they ask themselves, what do I need to fight for? Before I was fighting for this, that's when it comes, that's when we have realized that the only will that we will never lose is the will to fight for doing what God wants us to do. As I say, and I'm going to repeat for those who just tune in, you could lose many things. But if you lose the will to fight, because this will is based on someone, on the circumstances, on the situation, but it's not based on your communion, on your relationship with the Creator, on doing what He wants you to do, that will is not sustainable. As I say, I was telling you, I met this man that every day in the morning, spite of being advanced in age, a firecracker. And the man realized this man has a will to fight because he's not fighting for himself. He's fighting God's fight. And this man woke up every day with a fire and goes to bed with a fire. In spite of losing many things, he never lost the will to fight, because the will to fight was found in his communion with God, on his relationship with God. The will to fight was not coming from within his surroundings, or it should not come from within our surroundings. Or for the things that we hear, we say it have to come from within inside of us. The strength, it have to be an inner strength. It's easy to believe when you are surrounded, when everything is going. But the most important thing is to believe and not to lose the will to fight when you don't hear, when you don't see, and when you don't feel. And this have nothing to do with age, because as I said before, I know very, very young people who don't have a will to fight. And I know many people well in advance that every day in the morning say, this is a good day. Spite of what I hear, spite of what I see, spite of how I feel, I have the will to fight. Let me just share something here from the holy message. Let me just share something here from the. Let's go to the book of Joshua. I remember that Caleb said, when I left Egypt, I was a youngster. Now I'm 80 something, and I have not lost the will to fight. At this age, I go there and eat my enemies like a piece of bread. You know why? Because he never lost the will to fight. In spite of what was going on through his body, in spite of what was going on around, he never lost the will to fight. And when we don't lose the will to fight because it's found in the communion with God, in spite of what we're going, in spite of what is happening, you will still fight. So let me just share from the book of Joshua, chapter 5, 13, 14. It says, when Joshua was near Jericho, you can see that this man was not, because when he left slavery, when he left slavery, he was 40, less than 40. 40 years after, he was very well advanced in years. So he said when Joshua was near Jericho, that's the book of Joshua, chapter 5, from 13 to 14. For those who want to mark, who want to revise, Joshua chapter 5, 13 14. And he says, when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up. Jericho was the camp of opposition, was the walls of impossibilities. Jericho was the impossible, was the wall of opposition, the wall where many others fell, collapsed, and were destroyed. But it says that when Joshua got near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him. Look at the attitude of this man that was not a young man. He said he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him. The man had a sword in his hands. The man was ready to fight. And look at the attitude, look at the will of this, not a young man. Joshua went to the man and asked, are you a friend? Or are you a friend to our people, or are you one of the enemy? In another word, I'm ready to fight you. I see you have a posture to fight. Are you with me or are you against me? He was ready to fight. In spite of his age, in spite of his circumstances and situation, in spite of what he heard, that in the powerful Tor, an amazing war, many people perished there. Many people. But when he got there, he saw, in spite of his age, he said, are you a friend or are you not friend? Because I'm ready to fight you. Look at the attitude of this man, of this old man. Look at the will to fight. He said, are you a friend of our people or are you one of our enemy? I'm ready to fight you. The man answered, another enemy. I am the commanders of the Lord army. I have just now come to you. Then Joshua bowed his face, realized that it was an archangel, that was a powerful angel. Face to the ground, show respect and say, I am your servant. Does my master have a command for me? But before he found out that that angel was there to fight for him and with him, he said, are you my enemy or you not? Because I'm going to fight you. Look at the attitude. Look at the attitude. Look at the will. Not to run, but to fight. He said, are you the one who's going to fight with us or against us? Because I'm ready. And this is the attitude of someone who wake up every day with a will to fight. Are you pain? Are you sickness? Are you against me? I'm going to fight you. Are you discouragement, fear, doubt? You're not with me. You're against me. I'm going to fight you. And this will is energized by God. A light bulb is energized by a source of power. And if the light bulb has no energy, that means there's no source of power. This man had a source of power. That's why when he found this powerful being ready to fight for him, but he did not yet knew, he said, okay, are you against me? Because I'm going to fight you. Look at the attitude of this man. You know why? Because time did not allow him to lose the will to fight. Age. If a person loses the will to fight, it might as well they lose everything. There's some people that you could put in the desert and they will flourish. Some people you could put in the palace, they could wither. Because some people have the will to fight that is not being energized by themselves, by their own ambition, by their own goals, but it's being energized by the power and the relationship, the commitment, and the communion that they have with God. Look at the attitude of this man. He said, "You're going to fight me or you are with us?" The angel said to him, "Hey, calm down. I'm here to fight with you for you." This is the attitude of somebody who have the will of fight every day. Ready to fight in my sleep, ready to fight while I'm walking, ready to fight all the time, ready to fight without pain or with pain. I'm ready to fight. You coming against me? I'm talking about spiritual speaking. I'm talking about fighting people on the street. No, I'm talking about fighting the forces of darkness, the spirit of discouragement, the spirit of fear, the spirit of doubt, the spirit of death, the spirit of sickness coming upon, the spirit of destruction. Oh, I'm ready to fight you. We could lose many things. And I know many people who lost limbs, eye, but they never lost the will to fight. And some people have not lost limbs, but they have lost the will to fight. Let me just share another message from the Holy Word. Are you ready to fight? Because if you're not ready to fight, how can you overcome evil? If evil does not rest, but it goes around like a roaring lion. And the Holy Word tell us that we have to be in our guard all the time. And that we can find the will to fight in doing the will of God, loving Him and helping the strangers. In the book of Philippians, chapter 2, verse 12, 13 says, "My dear friends, you always obey what you were taught. Yes, as you obey when I was with you. It is even more important for you to obey now that I'm not there. So you must continue to live in the way that give meaning to your salvation. Do this with fear and respect for God. Yes, it is God who is working in you. He helps you to do what he pleases him and give you the power to do it. It is God, when we connect to him, who give us the will to fight, to get the horn, to get the bull by the horn. It is our communion, commitment, and relationship with him who give us the spirit to fight. Each and every day of our life. It is him who did not allow us, when we draw closer to him, to lose the will to defeat circumstances and situations. If you have lost your will to fight, it is not too late. You can find the will to fight as you draw closer to him. But Pastor, how do I do closer to him? I pray, I go to church, I read my Bible. It have to be more deeper than that. Don't tell me that you know how to swim if when you go to the deep, you cannot jump and go from one side to the other side. That's not, if you cannot do this, that's not swimming. They taught us to pray, to go to church, to participate in this, and to go about our life. They never taught us to jump into the deep. Because when we jump into the deep, we could see things that we have not seen when we are in the shallow. So if you are in the shallow, it's time to jump into the deep. It's time to take your communion and your relationship with God to another level. It's time to stop worrying about yourself and care for the people that you don't know. Living for not yourself, but for others. Remember the rich young man when told Jesus, Jesus, I follow all your command. I don't steal, I don't rob. And Jesus said, well, you got to let go of everything you have. Give it to the poor. And let's go and help them out. He have too much to give up. He have too much to give up. If you don't have the will to fight today, you can find this will to fight. If you let go of the all and you throw himself at his arm and commit yourself. I know we are living in the world where nobody wants commitment. People want to have the benefit of something without being committed because they're afraid. Or either we commit, or either we just go by the flow. Then the will to fight will come out from within. And that will is not the will of man that fades away with age, with time, but it's the will of God that gets stronger and stronger and stronger every day. If you have lost your will, you can, or if you never had the will to fight because the will to fight was based on what you have, on somebody else, on having fun, on going from place to place, but that you know at the midnight hour, you feel lonely. It's never too late to get that will to fight every morning when you get up. Yesterday was hard. Today I'm going to fight. It's a new day. If you want to again have the will to fight, it's never too late.